is the knowledge not of facts but of values. I quote Dean William Inch. I'm Pavna Shetty and I feel privileged to welcome all of you on behalf of Motorola Mobility and Motorola Solutions to Vigyaan Rasah 2013. Vigyan Rasah, the sense of enjoyment in learning science, is one of the activities initiated under the umbrella of a global engineering marathon. The marathon provides a platform to support and unite women in the fields of engineering and technology. Inspire, inform, change the world is the theme of the National Engineers Week Foundation's annual global marathon. And Motorola Solutions and Mobility has been an active member of the foundation over 5 years. This year we bring to you Vigyan Rasah, where we collaborate with teachers and parents from various backgrounds to share their unique ways of teaching science. I now have Mrs. Soumya Lakshmi, Senior Engineering Manager, Head of Idle Engineering, Motorola Solutions, to deliver the welcome note. Now please tell us.
Good morning and a warm welcome to everyone who is assembled here. I would like to specifically acknowledge everyone who is here, who has taken time of their Saturday, and who is here, the speakers specifically, and the parents and teachers who have signed up to attend this event. As Pavna has described, this is an event that Motorola has been supporting in support of the National Engineers Week Foundation for the last 5 years. And we have, from Motorola, we have been supporting this event in different forms every year. Okay? The first event that we had, we went to the college, we addressed college students, the PU and the undergrad students. And then we also kind of took it to the schools. We addressed, the school children, high school children specifically. And then we addressed the underprivileged students coming from underprivileged schools. And this year, we have kind of changed it a little bit because we thought that teachers and parents have a significant role in helping students understand and children understand the importance of science and what difference it makes. Because generally, students, several students tend to stay away from science thinking that it's too difficult. So that's the reason I think this year the program has been designed to help the parents and teachers. We have several eminent speakers today, and I acknowledge each of them here. And the agenda which Pavna spoke about what we are going to cover here today. And I once again thank all the speakers who made it here, and on behalf of Motorola Mobility and Motorola Solutions, and I welcome again everyone to this evening. Thank you so much.
To deliver the keynote address, Dr. Utpal is a visiting scientist at the Indian Statistical Institute, Bangalore. He had served with Motorola for 11 years from the year 1994 to the year 2005. He is the founder director of Motorola Labs India.
Good morning to all of you. And and thank you for coming here on a Saturday morning. For me personally, it's very sort of enjoyable to come here and give a talk. This is a subject that on which people who know me, they know that I can talk endlessly at all hours of day and night. What I will talk about here is something that we have done in the last 5 years, really. We have a small company. In addition to teaching science to undergrads in Indian Statistical Institute, we also, 5 of us do think a lot about how to bring science to high schools. And just an acknowledgement of that is that all that I'm going to talk about here is really the work and the viewpoints that we have developed in the last 5 years. Now, what is your view of science? Has it been very enjoyable? Has it been tough? Has it been, anybody? If I ask a bunch of high school, middle school children, they will immediately jump up and give lots of opinions, which is a very fresh thing, It's very nice. So anyway, I gathered together a few, common answers that I get all the time, and it says that typically, overall, people say science is difficult. Science is difficult. It's so many equations. I don't know which formula to use. I don't know what to do. So there's this general state of confusion prevailing when you talk about science. And it's boring. And this is my favorite, because this is my favorite not only because I'm a physicist myself, also because this is a common experience that Dr. Sukanya Singh and I have both experienced. And strangely, that we're sitting in the dentist chair. The dentist has my mouth open with a drill going inside and asking, "What do I do?" So I said, "I'm a physicist." And she said, "Oh, it was the worst subject in my school." And I sort of think that I hope it doesn't affect your drilling. but bottom line is that usually you do not hear people giving a very high energy response. "Oh, great! How I loved it." And even though I talk mostly within the confines of my own experience of physics, whatever I am saying will largely be applicable to many other branches of science. Yeah. So what you don't see, what is rare to find, is a very high energy enthusiastic response. I love it. I do get that from time to time, by the way, and that's very gratifying. And the point is that why is it like that? Does it have to be like that? So give me a second when I. One thing. So therefore, there is prevailing atmosphere of, lack of finding enjoyment in science. Almost it's a fear, and when you talk to children or talk to people, we realize that this fear develops early in, it doesn't develop in an adult, and because it's so difficult because it develops in the children and it gets stratified. So our experience is that, many children develop this fear of science while they're in middle school to high school. When they're younger, they don't have as much fear. They're still fresh. They can experiment with their hands. They're energetic. They ask lots of questions. But starting middle school, something different happens, and the fear creeps in. And our conviction is that I think it's almost that our children deserve to grow with the atmosphere that allows them to enjoy science. So I think they deserve to grow up without developing a fear of science. That's my conviction. As much as they should grow up enjoying a poem, enjoying a beautiful, work of, art, they should also enjoy science. All of them may not grow up to be scientists, but why this fear? And all that I'm going to talk about is a little bit of our experience, of what we have done and experience of what. Perhaps a few approaches that can help to alleviate this fear. So that's the central theme of my talk. Okay, so basically the way I see it, that the challenges of science education in the middle school and high school level is the following: that how do you change this situation from one of boredom, frustration, fear to, I don't know how many of you can see this, but if you see this picture closely, which is also on our website, on our Facebook, you can see the children almost with an open mouth. And by the way, that is my colleague, Dr. Sonali Chindia, and she couldn't be here today. So the idea is that how do you do something that they get an interest in science, or to this? And both of these are taken from our direct experiences. So it is not made up. Yeah, the first one was made up from websites, but these two are not. Yeah. So the idea is that how can you recreate this in a high school setting, middle school to high school setting? If we manage to do that, then our sense is that a big problem, big hurdle of fear of science will be taken care of. So that's what I'm doing. Yeah. So let's first look back and say what children like to do. Yeah, all of us are children are all around us. What do they like to do?
Play.
Play. Thank you. Play. Anybody else? How about stories? They like stories. Anybody else? TV. Yeah, TV. TV they like, but I think almost all theories of education and we have very important counselors sitting among us will tell you that it's a very passive enjoyment, and actually it stunts, potentially has the ability to stunt growth. So, okay, but how about they like activity. Sitting in one place is tough for them. Yeah, they like activity. Now this is actually been a personal learning for me, because I am a person who likes to sit in a corner and think of some equations. But I work with children who hates that. So I had to really accept the fact that they like activity, they like working with their hands, move around. They like solving a puzzle. You give them a puzzle. I'm not talking about just a mathematical puzzle, any puzzle. You know, they like build this, build that. They like that, right? Questioning. Why are you doing this? Why can't you do that? Let me do this. And they get very frustrated when these questions are kind of summarily dismissed. That is one of the big frustrations, and it dismissed more and more as they grow up through middle school. Yeah? And it doesn't have to be like that. So all that I'm going to say here, A, is in the context of high school, middle school, and also born out of my experience that is more suited to Indian schools. So since I do understand we may have a global audience, please understand that all that I'm talking about, it's certainly applied to a large part of India and maybe elsewhere too, but at least that's my context. Experiment? Yeah? Okay, so I'll tell you, my wife heard a talk of Mr. Ramanujan once, who does a lot of work with maths education in Tamil Nadu, and he asked people in the streets, what do mathematicians do? What is mathematics? Not what do mathematicians do, what is mathematics? And the answer he got back, the predominant answer, mathematics is a subject taught in school. Yeah? Now, you will all agree with me, that's a very sad view of mathematics. But what science is, and I'm talking about really, I'm separating out mathematics now. I'm quite a bit of Puritan myself, so I like to make correct statements, and what I'm saying really doesn't apply to mathematics in my sense, but it applies to most list of science. That at the core of science is observing, is experimenting. You ask a question, you say, oh, how do I know why this happens? So you figure out something. If you ask questions, you redo an experiment, you try to understand the world. So we talked about what children like, we were talking about what science is about. There is a lot of commonality. Yeah, it's asking questions, it's activity, and yet there are a lot of elements of science the children should enjoy, and yet our experiential base is that many of them develop fear, right? So the real issue is that how can you bring it down, and what is the child's view of a science class, right? Now, I'm sure that many teachers here may disagree with me, and I'm sure there are great teachers, so it's not a comment on all teachers, all science classes, but by and large, the experience of a child in a science class is that it contains a lot of definitions that are not intuitively clear, one term after another. It's a lot of laws being, law of reflection, law of refraction, Snell's law, Newton's law, Dalton's law from chemistry, and so on. And that's very confusing, and there is no, so it's a jumble of unintuitive definitions, and what it does not have, what does it does not have? It does not have enough experimentation. It does not have enough experimentation. It does not have, the children experience very little of what will happen if I try this. Very little scope within that. So our science teaching, by and large in India at least, has become extremely classroom focused activity. And classroom, you have to do so much, you can call it a classroom, but the experience of doing something is singularly lacking. Okay. So we tried to try something different. Now this was an existential crisis for me, because I love science, and I believe that what I love, everybody should love. I'm kind of vain person that way. Yeah, all of us are probably are. And here there is a large group of people saying that they don't like science, and children don't like science. My own children, they are viewed, I could see that they're kind of scared. So it so happens that I talked to Dr. Sinha, and Dr. Sonali also came around the same time. We thought that we'll just do experiments. We'll just do experiments, but do it in a way that has some structure. It's not completely structureless, but it allows the children to develop things on their own as much as possible. So what we did, so our focus of this is to allow the children to work in groups and on some specific topics, selected experiments with very minimal guidance. That's the key word. But it's not zero guidance. Zero guidance to children is not a good thing. There has to be guidance. The real challenge of a teacher is to figure out the balance, that how much guidance is just enough.